Now let's get into creating effective prompts. And I didn't get to mention this before, but what the Midjourney team did was they scraped all of the photos on the web that were available for, let's say, green apples. And they input 10,000 photos of green apples from Google Images and from online, and slightly distorted those images and asked their AI tool to redraw the image and basically paint it back to its original state before the distortion. And after doing this millions and millions and millions of time for all of the photos available online, well, virtually all the photos available online, the AI tool allowed and learned how to redraw essentially everything from scratch. And it was assigned to a specific word or a specific description. And that's where prompting comes into play. So Midjourney basically has an archive and a data set of what words are connected to what objects in the real world. So when we're creating a prompt, we need to clearly describe to the system what we're looking to have outputted. So we can do that by breaking it down in a few different ways. The first way we can start into this process is, what is our subject of the photo? And this is almost similar to explaining to a painter what you'd like the painting to be about. So you're gonna start with the subject. You're gonna say, okay, I want a person, an animal, a character, a location, or an object. So you could say a green apple, or an astronaut, or a dog, or a wolf, whatever it is. The subject is gonna determine the main content of the image. And then we have the medium, AKA the type of background or where the art is gonna live on. Is it a photo, a painting, an illustration, a sculpture, or a tapestry? This is gonna change the texture and the feeling of the output. After that, we have environment. Is it indoors, outdoors, on the moon, in Narnia, underwater? All of these descriptions help further create that look that you're going for, as if you were explaining it to a painter who's painting this from scratch. Next up, we have lighting. So this is a really important one that creates an overall feeling, just like when you go to the movies and the different scenes that you see have a different look and feel. A lot of this comes down from coloring and lighting. So when we want to determine the lighting, the difference between soft and neon is day and night, okay? And the difference between studio lighting versus ambient lighting is day and night as well. So experimenting this is really gonna give you some different looks and feels, which leads to color. Vibrance and muted are two different styles, and Midjourney does an excellent job, as you saw with that samurai example. The difference between a colorful, vibrant, bright, and sunny is way different than the much more monochromatic style that we can go for. So if you don't add this into the prompt, Midjourney is just gonna use its random seeds, which means that it basically assigns a random number to each one of its prompts or inputs so that each image comes out unique. And if you don't add the wording to your prompt, it's gonna decide what the look and feel is gonna be for you. Next is mood. It understands the subtleties of using terms that we would describe to each other as humans of the way we're feeling. We're feeling calm, excited, anxious, mad, upset, or energized. It's gonna take that description just from the word, and it's gonna infuse that into the feeling of the image. And then we have composition. This is very photography and videography related, but there's different terms that relate to different types of framing. A portrait is gonna be almost like a headshot or a close-up of a person on camera, where a bird's eye view is gonna be similar to the view of a drone. And you can also type in the different lens types, so wide angle lens, telephoto lens, medium lens. Some of these may be a little bit more technical for your understanding of it, but we're gonna experiment with how to use different compositional terms. So the takeaway from that is that what you tell it to do, it's gonna take that as an input and creatively create an output. What you don't tell it in your prompts, it's just gonna randomly generate and decide on its own. So with that said, this is a different way to look at the different styles and kind of prompts that you can put into Midjourney. We have different artists that you can say. It can even be in the different style of a movie. So if you say, a futuristic samurai in the Matrix, it's gonna do much more darker, monochromatic, deep crushed blacks with a slightly green tint that all Matrix movies have. You can also say based on themes. Different themes like minimalistic or surrealism. And then we have resolution, which we're gonna get into, different rendering engines, which is really cool. The style of Pixar movies and video games all use different rendering engines that you can actually input into your prompt that creates a similar look to the games and movies that you see, which is pretty fun to mess with. So we're gonna get into that. Camera and lenses we talked about, and then effects. Is the image distorted? Is it black and white? Is it blurry, or is the image super clear and sharp? So now that you understand the overview of effectively creating prompts using these different levels of what your subject is, what your environment is, and how you can really decide and paint the picture for this AI tool to then give you the output you're looking for, let's now dive deeper into creating better prompts.